Good morning. Welcome back to the stream. This will be the last stream before the vacation because our flight isn't until the evening. But we're going to be traveling all evening. We're going to get at the airport at 4 p.m. and we're not going to get to our destination until midnight. So it's going to be a long day of traveling. But that's what made the flights cheap, and that's just what you deal with. I already got us checked in, so we got our boarding passes and everything. I got a notification about them having limited overhead space, so they're probably going to ask for people to volunteer to check their bags for free. And usually when they do that, I just will do it, me and whoever I'm traveling with. So me and Theo will probably just check our bags, so then we don't have to pull them on and off the plane. And then all we have to do is go to that little baggage carousel at the end, after the second flight, scoop them up, and makes things less complicated. So we'll see. That's probably what will end up happening. Most of the time, I'm one of those people that volunteers to do that. Some people just want to take their carry-on and not have to go to the baggage carousel and just go straight to, leaving. But yeah. I woke up in the middle of the night around the time that I usually wake up for work, but I was able to fall back asleep. But I didn't force myself. I just kind of chilled out and watched a bunch more videos of people from Europe coming to America and being blown away by all the American things. I took a deep dive of people being like, barbecue is amazing, and being blown away by Waffle Houses and people being nice to them and stuff like that. It was it's just a fun, wholesome thing to delve into. There actually was a ton of videos of the Scottish people, because I guess since the Scottish hadn't been or Scotland hadn't been in the World Cup for almost 3 decades, tons of people showed up and they were just partying all over the place, playing bagpipes, just going crazy. And so the energy was infectious, and it really got everyone in Boston going. Yeah, but it's not like Texas barbecue. Texas barbecue's pretty famous. It's a different thing. I mean, this is what the British and Scottish and stuff people were saying, man. It's not me. They were saying, wow, this is so different. Brisket's one of the options, yeah. Brisket's one of them. Brisket's one, ribs, there's lots of different stuff. No, brisket's there. The brisket's definitely one of them. I think it's basically between brisket and ribs, and then sausages, but everywhere likes sausages. They're pretty universally understood to be really good. There was this one British guy that went into this place that was called the tasting room or something like that, and you would think that it's a wine place or something, but it's actually just lots of different barbecue sauces and mustards and ketchups, everything you can think of, cilantro, jalapeno mustard and stuff like that. And he was just going around, and apparently you can just go and sample everything on pretzels and crackers and stuff. I was like, that sounds pretty legit. It was a pretty short one, as I recall. It was alright. I don't know, I couldn't really tell what was going on necessarily. Like I said, I think the little texture pack or whatever they got going makes it look less Robloxian for sure. I think it's in Alabama. The guy, he was doing a lot of videos from Alabama. He was just going all over to different places in Alabama. And it's funny because a lot of these World Cup matches, they're not in big cities, they're in well, one's in Boston, which is a big city, obviously, but there's some in more rural areas and Louisiana and Indiana and stuff like that, and people are experiencing these smaller towns, Because all they really see of America is the big cities that are featured in movies and TV shows. So they're like, this is beautiful and everyone's super nice and yeah, stuff like that. So I think it's kind of cool. Ah, fair enough. All the enemies are NPCs in that, right? I told Theo he could stay up as late as he wanted to because he could just sleep on the flight, because I figure he'd rather do that than to try to entertain himself, or the flights, because there's two of them, rather than try to entertain himself on his phone or whatever, and he was pretty excited about that. So he was up pretty late. When I woke up in the middle of the night, he was still up talking to his friends on the computer. I think he went to bed at a little after 3. It does sound familiar. Oh, bubblegum for the flight. That's what you're talking about. I thought you were like bubblegum was the name of an NPC in the game. I was like, maybe you mentioned that? I don't know. Does sound like the name of an NPC in Dandy World, though, from my little to no knowledge of it. I'm always in a perpetual state of tiredness. You should know that about me. I don't know if you've seen that. Like, since you're in the chat, you keep my brain a little bit more engaged when when I'm streaming and there's nobody to really talk to, I doze off quite a bit. I'm always in a perpetual state of tiredness. I don't sleep enough for how much I work. But it is what it is. But I was able to pick out seats ahead of time, which I didn't think I was going to be able to, because I got those like cheap seats where you just get assigned them when you go to board the plane or whatever. But I was actually able to pick seats, so I was able to get myself an aisle seat, which is good for me, because lately I've had anxiety flying, because I feel like cramped and it like freaks me out. So aisle seats really help me with that. so I can feel like, you know, I can't technically escape, but it feels like more like I can stretch my legs and breathe for a second. I mean, I'm sure Theo would like a window seat, but he can probably still see over whatever person got the window seat out the window. He's also already had that experience before, so. And I picked ones that were really close to the back of the plane so we could hit up the back restrooms, because that's another thing that, like, gets my anxiety going, is if I need to use a restroom and I'm, like, really far away from it and stuff like that. It's not a big deal, but as I get older, more and more anxiety coops up in my brain. I used to be such an easygoing young dude, man. I used to be able to ride roller coasters and stuff, and I still do. But I literally will get so much anxiety from riding roller coasters that sometimes I'll throw up. But I'll still force myself to do it so I can ride them with Theodore. If I can get like a Xanax prior to riding, that can usually calm my nerves enough to enjoy myself slightly. It's funny because like I enjoy them, but just the being locked in it and stuff like that, it just gets me going. It's not the best. Flappy Bird on it. Oh, Poppy's one of them. It's also the name of some, like, singer. Flappy Bird? Well, Flappy Bird's not gonna cause me anxiety. I didn't realize you wore a wig. You truly are British. Is it one of those powdered wigs? Like a lord. Soda? That makes sense. Soda's big business in the States. Actually, in in the area where I live, since it's like kind of more small town country, people call soda pop here. I had a friend that I work with out at the airport, and he was from Venezuela. So I asked him what they call soda in Venezuela, and he says they call it refresca. And I was like, okay, it's an interesting one. No. I have a decent amount of friends. I actually haven't talked to him in a while because he did work with me at FedEx. He got me a job at FedEx, actually, after we both worked at the airport. And he ended up stealing a bunch from FedEx, and after he quit from there. They give us these little fuel cards to fill up our trucks. And he took his fuel card with him and was using it to fill up his own personal vehicle for his own business that he started. And apparently he spent he filled up hundreds of dollars worth of fuel before they caught on to it. And no, he's not in jail. I don't think they actually were able to do much. They canceled the card, and I think they wanted to bring up charges, but they weren't able to, I don't know, prove anything or something. He insists that he didn't do that, but I'm like, I don't know why they would make it up. You know, I worked for that business for a while, the company that I work for, at FedEx, and they were all very honest and chill people. So I was like, I think that he saw an opportunity to take advantage of something and did, you know. He wanted to benefit himself in a way, wanted to get a leg up in his new business, and he's like, what's a good way for me to save money? Never having to pay for gas. Let's do that. And that's not why I don't really talk to him as much. He works a lot, I work a lot. But besides the whole stealing thing, he was a pretty good dude. I think definitionally you can actually blame him, but I get it, especially when you're from a country like Venezuela, you know, where you're just looking out for yourself and your survival. I could see the urge to look out for number one and throw a company under the bus. You'll be like, I'm sure they'll be fine. That's not the way I operate, though. I try to operate with integrity, but sometimes things like that are a luxury. You know, it's hard to operate with integrity when you're trying to survive in a difficult situation. So I could relate, or not relate. I can sympathize. I'll take a look at it later. I'm going to give it the attention it deserves, aka deleting it without watching it. Just kidding. It's funny when I'm shiny hunting now, especially things I've already gotten shiny before, my brain just remembers what they looked like shiny and imposes that over what I'm seeing. So like I keep being like, that could be shiny. I know it's not, but I'm just basically ready for it to be. I still think that the clip for my Chinchou was pretty epic, where I was like, last encounter of the stream, it's gotta be shiny then. And then it was, and then I was like, oh wait, it actually is. That's crazy. It's not green, no. It's like a light blue, and it's just on its back. I'll show you next time it comes up. That right, it has like these little panels on its back that are like a dark red right now, like darker than the other parts of its body. Just those panels change to like a light blue. Yeah, you see the part, that section on its back that's a little bit darker red than the rest of it? Those panels on like the center of its back. And there might be other things that are changed, but that's what I remember seeing that was very significant and stood out. Nope, it's got to be blue. But that's why I'm going to try to catch it in a lure ball. I have 2 lure balls, and the lure ball matches it super nicely. If you take a look at the lure ball, because most of its body is red, right? And then the lure ball in the center of it has a little like a little blue or no, most of the ball is blue. It has a little red stripe, so it's inverted in terms of the color scheme, but I still think it matches pretty good. And I got the Bulbsy in a moon ball, which I think matches it pretty good. It's not green, but it's still got that lighter blue and the yellow. I think it's pretty solid. I wanted to get Johnny in a friend ball, but I got it so quickly. All I had was a fast ball that I crafted because I hadn't even beat a gym yet. And luckily I caught it in it, so the swagness continues. Yeah, the moon ball actually looks pretty sick when you throw it out as well. Every different one of them has like a different animation when you throw them out. And the moon ball specifically, you see little moons that like spring out of it. I'll show you real quick because it looks super sick. So watch closely when it comes out. You'll see little moons burst out of the ball. Ooh, fancy. And when you have like a love ball, little hearts fly out of it. What will it do? I don't know. Since I am a shiny hunter, I kind of like how beast balls are actually harder to catch things with, so then they're more swaggy. So I probably would make a ball that like was harder to catch things with than the standard ball, but just had a really cool look to it and a really cool animation, so that people wanted to catch stuff in it for the challenge of it. Something like that. I guess they already have that with Beast Ball. Or I would make the shiny ball, where it has the 3 little shiny sparkles on it, and it has a bonus catch rate on just shiny Pokemon. And its color changes to match the shiny that you caught. Just kidding, that's probably too far. Yeah, they have a unreleased Pokeball that was like they have like concept art for that I think was yellow. I forget what it was called, but that was pretty cool. I think they were intending to make it into a ball, and then they replaced it with like a park ball or something. I still need to get the little Rotom in a Pokeball that they sell at some of the grocery stores around here. The problem is, like, they never have it. They'll have like other things. They'll have Eevee and Trico and stuff like that, and they just never have Rotom. But if I get it online, it's like $20. But if I get it at a local store, it's like 10 to 13 bucks. And it's more fun that way. I could always just buy it online. But if I find it in person and I go, woo, and that's the sound I would make probably. Something close to it. And then I would punch a stranger. Probably an old lady. You gotta celebrate. It is what it is. But yeah, I would probably make a shiny ball. Bonus catch rate only on shinies. The ultimate shiny hunter ball. If it did color change to match the Pokemon, that would be pretty sick. But that seems like that'd be a step too far for Game Freak to sign up on. But that'd be pretty sick. Not your grandma? I don't know. Pokemon already have a higher chance of being caught with status effects on them. You're just going to increase that even more? That already gives a bonus to catching them. That's why I always put them to sleep. Because that has the highest bonus. I think every other status is about the same. But sleep has the highest one. And I think the reason why sleep has the highest one, unless they didn't even have any logic behind it, but I think it's because sleep is the only one you have a chance of just randomly wearing off. Besides freezing, you can also thaw out, but I think sleep you're more likely to wake up from, because sleep, if you stay asleep, it's guaranteed to fail, but when you're frozen, attacks could still go off. Or no, I think when you're frozen, it's like sleep, your attacks still don't go off. But it's pretty rare to get frozen. I actually don't even know all the all the different bonuses and stuff like that, because I just looked up whichever one has the highest bonus and made a false swiper that would be the most effective for making that happen. Funny story is, though, I actually I looked up because hypnosis doesn't have 100% accuracy, so I looked up what move increased accuracy, and it was the choice specs, I believe. And then I went and got the not choice specs. It was something scope, something like that. It's like a magnifying glass or something like that. I looked up what it was, and then I put the one that actually increased crit chance and not accuracy on my false swiper, and that's what I had it holding for years, thinking that it was making my hypnosis more accurate, but it wasn't. I just put the wrong one on. So that was kind of yikes. For many years I thought that was working, and it didn't. It only made my crit chance higher, which I didn't use often because I was using false swipe. Or didn't get often. You probably can crit false swipe though. It just won't kill. I don't think I was like particularly taken by any of them. I think they're all pretty cool. Actually, the more I think about it, there's quite a few that I liked a lot. I'm a big fan of pseudo-legendaries, so Baxcalibur is definitely way up there, but I think that'd be a lame answer because that would just by default be my favorite, because I like all of the pseudo-legendaries best. So if I exclude Baxcalibur, it probably would be a tie between I don't know why I can't remember his name right now. Tatsugiri and the other dude that goes along with him, where their abilities like work in conjunction. This one of the two options of the ability. Dundozo, here we go. Dundozo and Tatsugiri would probably have like a tie there. And if I had to pick one, it probably would actually be Tatsugiri, just because Tatsugiri's just funnier with it being like a fish on a piece of sushi. They also have really cool shinies. Because like the Tatsugiri shinies are all pretty lame, except for one of its colorations makes it into a purely white fish. And that's actually the more rare form to find. So when I shiny hunted it, it took longer to find that specific breakout. But then once I got it... Actually, I don't even know if I did a breakout. I might have just gone to where they spawn and kept going till I got one. I got like 3 or 4 of them shiny before I got the one I was actually going for. And then Dundozo also is like white and yellow. So he vibes really well with the shiny Tatsugiri. It makes for really cool. It's funny that that one would be because competitively it's one of the worst Pokemon in the game. And a lot of the new Pokemon are pretty good actually competitively. One thing I will say is the Paradox Pokemon. I think the Paradox Pokemon, they look really cool. Their designs are really cool. But all of their names suck. The fact that they made them... the fact that they made them all have like themed... Well, at least the iron ones. All the iron ones I think are stupid. The fact that they put iron before all of them, I think it's stupid naming. And then, but the ones from the past, whatever, those prehistoric ones or whatever, those ones have cooler names and designs. But the futuristic ones, I didn't like how they named them. The designs were cool on all of them, but the naming was pretty stupid. No, I think, no, the prehistoric ones were cool. Sandy Shocks was a good one. But the naming, you have to admit the naming for the future ones of like Iron Bundle, Iron Butt. I'm just stupid. Iron Hands. I'm like, no. Be more creative than that. Just put iron before everything. And I was a little disappointed that you couldn't breed them. It made sense that you couldn't breed them, because you can't breed future Pokemon with like modern Pokemon and stuff like that. I don't know. Like lore wise it made sense you couldn't breed them. But I'm not, it was weird that there was like a whole group of Pokemon that could just not be bred at all. Very strange. Now he slaps. He has it wide open. So he's slapping grandmas. He's like, that's what he does. Because he's based off of Hariyama. Hariyama. I fought off that yawn being much more pronounced than it was. But yeah, my hometown is actually in Arizona. So we're going to Arizona. And usually we live up in the northwest, which is where it's very mountainous and cooler and rainy and stuff like that. Not super rainy, not as much as like the Seattle area, but and Portland. But I grew up in Arizona, so I'm very familiar with it for obvious reasons. But Theodore is pretty nervous about it. He thinks he's going to step out of the plane and then instantly dry up into a husk and then blow away in the wind. There are showery areas, but no, it's not that much. It's actually pretty. Where I'm at is it's not too rainy. The snow's not too terrible, but it does have both of those things. The only thing is, it does have many months out of the year that are just overcast and gloomy, which I think is true of a lot of the UK as well. Well, I grew up in Arizona, and Arizona's got like sunshine 96% of the year. You know, it has like one rainy season that they call monsoon, and outside of that, it is sunny every single day. It's so sunny, in fact, that even in the winter, you go outside and it's usually still like 60 degrees if you're standing in the sun. And then if you go under the shade, all of a sudden it's a little brisk, and you feel like you need a hoodie. But if you're standing in the sun, you can go, it's like you're Superman. You're getting charged up by it. You're like, my powers are returning. I'd say probably for Violet Paradox. I really like Iron Valiant's design. It just looks pretty sick. It's not like the best Pokemon, but it looks pretty sick. And then for the Scarlet ones, and the one that kind of jumps out at me is Roaring Moon. It just looks pretty cool. It's also a Paradox version of a pseudo-legendary, which kind of gives it a leg up. And also, Iron Variant is a Paradox version of Gallade, which also gives it a leg up, because I've always liked Gallade since I've been using it as a false swiper for a super long time. Mew is Theodore's favorite Pokemon, and his close second is Ditto. And when I explained to him that that was kind of ironic because there's a fan theory that Ditto is actually a failed clone of Mew, that they were trying to clone Mew and it came out as this gelatinous blob that has the same coloration as Mew and the same shiny coloration as Mew, and they're the only two Pokemon in the game that can use the move Transform. So I was like, alright, that's close enough for me to buy into that being a good fan theory. Also, the fact that they did clone Mew into Mewtwo, which would suggest that that wasn't probably the first time they tried it. Ditto's just a cute little guy, and he also is the Pokemon with the most Riz. Compatible with every Pokemon that's breedable, regardless of gender, race, creed, ethnicity. I know some of those things are the same thing, but he is the Pokemon with the most Riz. The Rizzler. He mogs every other Pokemon. It is what it is. I don't know, it's a tough one because he's all inside appliances and stuff, so I feel like it would fundamentally change him, because like what is he gonna be, like a freaking a hatchet, you know what I mean? Or like a fire. A torch. Well, if Rotom is motor backwards, then an ancient Rotom would have to be some ancient invention backwards. So he'd have to be Erif, fire backwards. He'd be like Erif, which is not, it doesn't really roll off the tongue. Or flame backwards. EMAF. EMAF. Or, yep. My brain goes towards fire because that's like the most like ancient invention. You know what I mean? It's fire. Is there a different word for fire and flame? So he'd be Nerb, or Nerum. That would also wouldn't be pronounced very well. I guess Rotom doesn't have the best pronunciation anyways, you just get used to it anyways. But yeah, he'd be Ghost and Fire in his base form. And then every other form that he had would be some iteration of fire throughout the ages. So one would be like a torch. And that's it. He only has one other form. Oh, a lantern? And all of his other forms would be like fire something else? Fire steel? Fire poison? Not bad. Sure, I mean, do your thing. It would make him like muck or something. A prehistoric muck or grimer. What if it was like flamer backwards? Because then it'd be Ramalf. I don't know. Yeah, that's why I was saying all of them would be fire something else. And then it would be different versions of what fire was used for in the early days, you know, torch versus lantern versus candle. You know, I don't know what the other form of candle would be. Fire... normal? That'd be a cool one. Or like a Dutch oven or something like that. And that would be like fire ground or fire rock. One of them would be like a campfire, and that would be fire grass. I think it's pretty good design. Paradox Rotom. Alright, you're getting banned. Sorry about that. We'll time you out for... I'm just kidding. Dio randomly crashed out on the couch because he was watching TV when he was going to bed, and he doesn't usually sleep on the couch. I mean, technically what he sleeps on is a couch, but I bought him his own little kind of like fold-out futon. But technically the other couch is a fold-out futon. But the one I got him was like a boneless couch. I don't know if you guys are... If they get advertised as much to you guys over there as they do over here. But they're like the ones without any wood in them. It's all just like memory foam inside a couch shape or whatever. And yeah, that's usually what he sleeps on when he's at the apartment. It was like a thing for a while. I think they're like literally all made in China, so I would imagine they're as much of a thing there as they are here, which is not much. You know how viral trends take over for a little minute and then people go meh, and they go back to what they're used to. Kind of like a beanbag, yeah. A lot like a beanbag, but much firmer. Less pliable. I don't know if they ever had these in the UK, but kids used to have like these little. It's like a little couch for a kid, or a little chair for a kid that would be like, you know, Elsa from Frozen or Cars or whatever, and then you like fold it out and it turns into like a little bed. But now I can't. It's decent, but yeah, you fold it out a little bit. They'll do. It's kind of like how they have these. At least in hospitals here, they'll have these little chairs that can convert to little single person beds for when you're staying with someone in a hospital. I've had that happen. It's like a beach chair, but actually padded and upholstered and everything. Yeah. But similar in that same sense, yeah. Where you kind of convert it down and it gets longer. Rather, it'll be like a chair and then it folds out a couple times and it folds down, turns into a twin bed or whatever. It's like that, yeah. Except for I got him, I made sure to get him a queen size one because he's a pretty big kid. He's already looking like he's probably going to be at least 6 foot minimum, which is about my height. He might be taller than me ultimately. He's a big kid. He just turned 12 and he already has facial hair. He already has like a mustache growing or whatever, so he's speed running the whole puberty thing. I am big. I mean, I'm 6'2", or at least I was before I probably shrunk a bit being an old guy. But I'm like 6'2", 200 pounds. I'm not like a small dude. I'm just skinny. I've always been skinny. Why am I big? I ate my Wheaties. I don't know. I didn't actually eat Wheaties. I think it's genetic, if I were to guess. But my mom and dad aren't particularly tall, so who knows. My dad was like 5'10", and my mom, I think, is like 5'8", something like that. Maybe a little shorter. They're not like huge people. And Theo's mom's like, she's about average woman height, but I think he's already taller than her. Or he's like right at her height. So he'll probably be towering over most of his family pretty soon here. When he was little and he was in wrestling, because of his height, he always wrestled in the heavyweights, even though he was a very skinny kid, just because he was taller than every other kid that was like in his like age group. So he was wrestling kids because they do it based off of weight. He was wrestling older kids than him and stuff like that because he was just up there in the heavyweights. And he was also wrestling like the chubby kids too that were like shorter than him but chubby. What do you mean all of them? Was it like a horde spawn or something in Pokemon X and Y or something? Actually, I think hordes are in Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, or are they in both? I'm not sure. It just makes me think of hordes. It's not a good shiny, but all shinies are shinies, so I always catch them. If you want to see a really cool clip, there's a shiny hunter called Reversal. And he was doing a really famous Phoebus hunt where he was going out for a 1% Phoebus on Route 2, a fishing encounter. And he hunted it for like 3 years before he finally got it. And eventually when he did get it, he went away from doing a pure 1%. He ended up using Storm Drain and also the Dex recommendation to increase the encounter rate of it, or the spawn rate of it, whatever you want to call it. But it's funny, before he did that, the most common things to appear there are Magikarp and Choodle, outside of Phoebus, obviously, which is a 1%. And I guess someone like donated a bunch of money or subs or something like that in order for him to kill his next shiny. So when a shiny Magikarp appeared, he was like, okay, time to kill it. And he'd already gotten like over 100 Magikarps at the time at this fishing spot because he'd been there for so long, so it wasn't like a huge loss for him. But he KO'd the Magikarp, and then the very next encounter was another shiny Magikarp. He got back to back. So he killed the first one, and then immediately got another shiny Magikarp directly after that. So it made for a pretty epic clip. He also is one of the only people that has a recorded instance of getting a wild star shiny, which is like a 1 in 6 million chance with the shiny charm, because it was, like I told you before, the coded wrong. And when he got it, he didn't even notice that it was Star Sparkle. His chat mentioned it to him, and at the time he didn't realize how rare that was. He just was like, oh, Star Sparkle, that's kind of cool. And then people had to explain to him that they were like, no, this is 100% the rarest thing in the game. And then also, he got a Recluse marked shiny before the Mark Charm was introduced into the game. So he got a 1 in 1,000 shiny before the Mark Charm was even introduced into the game to make Marks more common. So he got some insanely rare stuff while trying to go for a rare Pokemon. Technically, he got a Recluse Mark shiny during that hunt, which is way more rare than the shiny Phoebus. And then he also got a back-to-back Magikarp, which is insanely rare, and he got a Wild Star shiny, which is inconceivably rare, before ever getting the Phoebus, which technically he never got a 1% Phoebus because he gave up on it. So, kind of an interesting story. And if I were him and I were making a video about it, which he did make a video about the hunt, that's what I would have emphasized. I would have been like, look at all these different things that happened that are way more rare than the thing that I was going for, that I ultimately never actually got, and ended up basically having to concede that I was not going to get it. It's pretty fun. It's a wild world we live in. But yeah, I'm going to bring my Switch with me on the flight. Going to have that all charged up. Do some shiny hunting on the plane. Probably just do some Rotom. And probably going to listen to podcasts or audiobooks or something like that. I have like a grip of audiobooks that I bought because I had a whole bunch of credits on Audible. And I just haven't listened to them. I have the entire Witcher series of books, and I think I'm only like 3 or 4 into it. I have the new Dresden Files book, which I think is the 20th one, and I've already listened to all the rest of them, so I could listen to that. And then I guess they had 2 new Hunger Games books, and I got the first one of the 2 new ones, which I actually heard were pretty good. The movie was not my favorite. A Song of Birds and Snakes or whatever wasn't my favorite. It was okay. But I heard the book was way better than that because they condensed it too much for the movie, something like that. So yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I think once I'm done with the shiny badge quest, I think I'm gonna make a whole thing about it. And I think I'm probably going to make a separate video for the more kind of cool rare hunts that people don't do very much. So I think I'm going to make a video on that's fine. But I think I'm going to make a video on the Morgrim hunt and the shiny Regina trade hunt. Maybe. At least the Morgrim hunt I'll make a video on, because I didn't see anyone make a video on it. I don't even know if anyone's done a video on that static hunt. But I'll see you next time, or technically it'll be after the vacation, and maybe we'll talk on Discord a bit too. I'm sure we will. But I'll see you when I get back from the vacation. Oh, goodness gracious. Alright, guys, we're gonna wrap up the stream. I think we're gonna do like, we'll say 5 more encounters, and then we'll wrap the stream up. It's good times, though. I know I had fun. I knew you guys had fun. And there's more fun to come. What? Two. Three. 4. Alright, last encounter. It's now or never game. If you want to give me that shiny, I ain't gonna complain. But it's now or never game. You gotta give me that shiny right now. You got to do it. Just kidding, it's not never, but it is now or not this stream. And it's not this stream. Well, I had all the fun. I know you guys did too. Please subscribe. Click that notification button. Hit like. Well, I'm not on YouTube right now. Well, I guess I technically am on YouTube. I'm streaming there too, but I'll see you next time. I'm going on vacation, so it'll be at least a week from now. But we will see each other again. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.